currently Earth. On November 26 in 1916, Thomas Edward Lawrence, a junior member of the British government's Arab Bureau during World War I, publishes a detailed report analyzing the revolt led by Arab leader Sharif Hussein against the Ottoman Empire in the late spring of 1916. As a scholar and archaeologist, the future Lawrence of Arabia traveled extensively in Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and parts of Turkey before beginning working formally with the British government's Bureau on Arab Affairs in 1916. At the time, the Arab Bureau was working to encourage a revolt by the Muslim and Arabic-speaking population of the Ottoman Empire in order to aid the Allied war effort. The leader of the planned revolt would be Sharif Hussein ibn Ali, ruler of the Hejaz, the region in modern-day Saudi Arabia containing the Muslim holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Hoping to remain neutral and collect bribes from both sides, Hussein remained undecided in the war until April of 1916, when he learned Ottoman leaders were sending a German-Turkish force to depose him. Wanting to strike first, Hussein declared a revolt in the Hejaz sometime between June 5th and 10th, seeking the protection of the British Royal Navy along the coast of the Hejaz. Around that same time, at Lawrence's suggestion, the Arab Bureau published its first international bulletin featuring the observations and insights of the hopeful British organizers and backers of Hussein's revolt. It soon became clear, as documented by the Arab Bulletin, that the British considered Hussein's revolt to be a dismal failure. In his report of November 26 in 1916, Lawrence gave his analysis of the situation. Quote, "I think one company of Turks properly entrenched in open country would defeat Sharif's armies. The value of the tribes is defensive only, and their real sphere is guerrilla warfare. They are too individualistic to endure commands or fight in line or help each other. It would, I think, be impossible to make an organized force out of them," unquote. Despite his derisive view of Hussein's troops, Lawrence made clear his admiration of the Sharif himself as well as for his three elder sons, Ali, Faisal, and Abdullah, praising them as heroes. He became close to Faisal in particular, and by early December 1916, he had joined Arab troops in the field, where he spent the rest of the war attempting, with varying degrees of success, to organize the disparate tribesmen into fighting units that would pose a real threat to the Ottoman enemy. At the post-war peace conference in Paris in 1919, the victorious Allies failed to grant full independence to the various Arab peoples, instead placing them under British and French control according to the mandate system imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. While his son, Faisal, was crowned king of the new state in Iraq, Hussein himself ended up losing control of Mecca and the Hejaz to the rival Saudi clan in the 1920s. Meanwhile, T.E. Lawrence, who had accompanied Faisal Hussein's Arab delegation to Versailles, resigned from his post in Britain's colonial office in the Middle East, disgusted by the Allies' failure to fulfill their promise of Arab independence. T.E. Lawrence lived much of the rest of his life in obscurity. He continued his eternity in 1935. It was November 26 in the year 1941 that President Franklin D. Roosevelt signs a bill officially establishing the fourth Thursday in November as Thanksgiving Day. The tradition celebrating the holiday on Thursday dates back to the early history of the Plymouth and Massachusetts Bay colonies, when post-harvest holidays were celebrated on the weekday, regularly set aside as Lecture Day, a midweek church meeting where topical sermons were presented. A famous Thanksgiving observance occurred in the autumn of 1621 when Plymouth Governor William Bradford invited local members of the Wampanoag tribe to join the Pilgrims in a festival held in gratitude for the bounty of the season. Thanksgiving became an annual custom throughout New England in the 17th century, and in 1777, the Continental Congress declared the first national American Thanksgiving following the Patriot victory at Saratoga. In 1789, President George Washington became the first president to proclaim a Thanksgiving holiday, when at the request of Congress, he proclaimed November 26, a Thursday, as a day of national Thanksgiving for the U.S. Constitution. However, it was not until 1863 when President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving to officially fall on the last Thursday of November that the modern holiday was celebrated nationally. With a few deviations, Lincoln's precedent was followed annually by every subsequent president until 1939. In 1939, Franklin D. Roosevelt, our nation's 32nd president, departed from tradition by declaring November 23rd, the next to last Thursday that year, as Thanksgiving Day. Considerable controversy surrounded this deviation, and some Americans refused to honor Roosevelt's declaration. For the next 2 years, Roosevelt repeated the unpopular proclamation, but on November 26th in 1941, he admitted his mistake and signed a bill into law officially making the fourth Thursday in November the national holiday of Thanksgiving Day. It was on November 26th in the year 1968 that an Air Force helicopter pilot rescues a Special Forces team. While returning to base from another mission, Air Force First Lieutenant James P. Fleming and 4 other Bell UH-1F helicopter pilots get an urgent message from an Army Special Forces team pinned down by enemy fire. Although several of the other helicopters had to leave the area because of low fuel, Lieutenant Fleming and another pilot pressed on with the rescue effort. The first attempt failed because of the intense ground fire, but refusing to abandon the Army Green Berets, Fleming managed to land and pick up the team. When he safely arrived at his base near Duck Cove, it was discovered that his aircraft was nearly out of fuel. Lieutenant Fleming was later awarded with the Medal of Honor for his awesome actions. Documented and divulged on this audio file can be verified on history.